Hey guys, Chris here from Lifeline EMS Training. We're going to go over the new features of the Zolex Advanced. And this was released a couple years ago, but we got the questions recently of what are some of the things that the Zolex Advanced brings to the table over the old Zolex. So first one we're going to go over is the Real BVM Help. So it's a ventilation management tool in terms of monitoring tidal volume and respiratory rate. And you'll see us using the Pulmodine VT Select BVM in the video to give you correlation. The cool thing about that BVM is it has rate regulation and a reduced tidal volume when you squeeze the bag. So here you see Real BVM Help. You get a dashboard and you get a countdown. So you get what your tidal volume is, and you can set it to what you want. This in this instance is set to about 450 milliliters. Keep shifting the green, 50 plus, 50 minus. And you got a respiratory rate to the right, and it gives you a countdown here on when to squeeze. And so that's the dashboard it gives you. You can cycle down, arrow down, and change the rate if you want. You can make it faster, make it slower if you want that guidance. But what you're seeing also with that VT Select BVM is it's in the rate control mode, which means you're ventilating at around 10 breaths a minute. So this is one of the cool features because inevitably in our business, what do? We hand the BVM or the bag of life to the newest person and they hyperventilate the patient because they bag every time their heartbeat, strikes. So you get ventilatory rates that are like 50s, 60s with excessive tidal volume because they want to wring out every ounce of air or milliliter of air in that BVM. So the cool thing about the Real BVM Help is it gives you a visual feedback on when to squeeze, how much you squeezed, and what your rate is. What it does require is that AccuVent sensor. So this is a blue sensor here. It has minimal dead space. It goes over the BVM or the airway, whether it's supraglottic airway, ET tube, and it clicks onto a little cable and you get the little blue light. And that's how you actually get the sensor. So this is essentially a flow sensor. And that's what measures the resistance to give you the volume and rate past the sensor. So remember, it's banking on how good your seal is. So if it's a BVM and you're not using something like the strap you saw on that VT Select, which is only a couple bucks, highly recommend, then you're just squeezing past that sensor and delivering that volume. It's not actually going into the patient. So the next cool feature on the Zolex Advanced is the TBI dashboard. And we know with TBI management from the global war on terror and the data that came back, we do not want dips in perfusion to the cerebral tissue. We don't want dips in oxygen delivery to the cerebral tissue. And so what we're seeing here is a dashboard that gives you trends across your systolic pressure. We want that above 90 and tidal. And we want your end tidal not to go above normal. So really, when we used to hyperventilate patients, we thought, hey, we're going to hyperventilate, we're going to drop the CO2. If we drop the CO2, you get cerebral vasoconstriction. So the arteries in the brain constrict. So we reduce the amount of volume of blood in the cranial vault, which means we're going to reduce the amount of pressure because we're reducing the amount of volume in a container. But what we failed to recognize was if we're reducing the amount of blood circulation through the brain, we're actually creating hypoxic brain tissue. So our target goal is to not let end tidals go above 45. This is set, if you see that dotted line right here, this is set to tell you keep between 35 and 45. So here in the simulator, we have where our end tidal value is actually going above 45. We're also seeing a dip in our SpO2. So it marks SpO2s that went below 90. So we want to maintain an SpO2 above 90. Really, we want to maintain it above 94. We don't want to cram tons of oxygen into these patients and create free radicals through the bloodstream, but we don't have a way to measure PaO2. So our goal here is to not let SpO2 drop below 90. So to recap, the TBI dashboard gives us the end tidal range. We want to stay within that 35 to 45 because we don't want the CO2 level to climb too much. As CO2 levels climb, arterial vasodilation occurs. So we actually dilate our arteries and our vasculature. This actually increases the amount of volume in the brain. And with a TBI, we're concerned about that pressure. So we want to make sure that they don't hypoventilate and become hypercapnic. So it gives you that range between 35 to 45. And here we can see we had couple episodes where the end tidal CO2 level climbed up on us. That's a problem. Like we said earlier, SpO2, we don't want to drop below 90, so we want to maintain oxygenation within the blood circulating to the brain. We also don't want our SpO2 to go above 100, meaning our PaO2 climbs, and we have non-hemoglobin bound oxygen floating through our plasma, which is a free radical. That can be a problem to damaged or vulnerable tissue. We also don't want our systolic pressure to drop below 90. It means it decreases our cerebral perfusion pressure, and we have hypoperfusion to the brain tissue. So we don't want hypoperfusion, hypoxia, and we don't want hypercapnia. So that's why it gives you these markers of these trends throughout the patient transport and monitoring. And it also gives you, as you saw, that rate to try and keep you within that target rate range that if your patient's intubated or you've taken their airway, you can actually know when and when not to ventilate. So that's TBI dashboard. We talked about the AccuVent and the Real BVM help. I hope that helped with the Zolx advanced features that kind of keep it apart from the Zol-X. And as always, if you have any questions, you can hit us up at info@lifelineemstraining.com. And we hope you have a great day.